What is going on, fellow Guardians? Welcome to my second episode of Best in Slot. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at snipers for PvE. The first sniper we're going to be talking about is going to be obtained through the Deep Stone Crypt raid, and this sniper is known as the Succession. This sniper fits in the 72 RPM category, and the reason we're putting this sniper at primarily the top of all of the other snipers is because it has some extremely strong perk combinations. This sniper obviously is one that I would recommend basically to everybody if you can get your hands on it. If you have the DLC and you have the ability to go to raids, go and do it and farm for the god roll of this weapon. This weapon features the perk Reconstruction, which allows the weapon to reload itself slowly over time, but up to double the regular magazine capacity, and you're also able to pair this with the perk Vorpal Weapon in the 4th perk slot. This perk is also just overall easier to obtain than just by simply having to get lucky and get a drop in the raid. The Deep Stone Crypt raid also wanted to introduce a new feature to players that were unable to get the drops with rolls that they wanted, and so you have the ability to go farm Spoils of War and trade those for a chest at the end of the raid in the final encounter to try to get more copies of the sniper with multiple different rolls to obviously increase your odds of finding the one that you want. The next sniper we're going to mention is not going to be available for too much longer. I don't think it's going to be accessible next season. It's going to be the far future. This sniper is in a relatively strange spot. It sits in the 90 RPM archetype, which lets you hit fairly decent numbers with headshots and body shots in general, but this sniper itself is just in a rather ranged spot because of the perks that are available to it as well as the perks that aren't available to it. On this sniper, you're not going to see more of the ammo-efficient perks, such as Reconstruction, Triple Tap, or 4th times the Charm, but you're going to see auto-loading holster, and you're also going to see the damage buffing perk Frenzy. So the sniper does have the ability to put out really strong and consistent DPS numbers, utilizing the fact that you're able to use Frenzy, which won't actually leave the weapon until you're out of combat, and the ability to pair auto-loading holster on this weapon, also being able to pair a rocket launcher with auto-loading holster as well, and just switching between the two and dealing really consistent amounts of DPS without any breaks in between. But obviously I wouldn't run this in any Grandmaster Nightfalls or even Master Nightfalls, just for the fact that snipers that don't have these more ammo efficient perks tend to find that you're running out of special a lot faster than you are sooner. Let's go ahead and jump over to a sniper that's one of my personal favorites, and it's been around for a fairly decent amount of time. It's the Long Shadow. This sniper is in the 90 RPM archetype and is extremely strong because of some of the perks that I've received on this sniper, and also just what other perks would pair well with this sniper in general in the perk pool. You can add some really strong perks like Field Prep and Rapid Hit, and then you get to add that in the 4th slot with it having Triple Tap. Field Prep is extremely strong because you get the increased reload speed while you're crouching, but even without getting the benefits of that, it's actually just a really strong perk as well because it allows you to increase the ammo reserves for the weapon in its own completely. But having Triple Tap and having some really efficient ammo restoring perks on this weapon makes it a really solid pick for you to pick up, because you're not only going to ensure that you've got special pretty much all the time, but it's going to do that while rewarding you with more ammo with the precision shots that you hit, and it's also just going to put out solid DPS numbers. Moving over to another 90 RPM sniper here. This one is, it's a fairly okay sniper. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. We're taking a look at the last season's featured weapon, the Adored. This sniper pretty much does a lot of the things that we highlighted when talking about the Long Shadow, but has one massive, massive fall off to this weapon as well. The big plus to this weapon is that you're guaranteed no matter what when you get this weapon that it's got Triple Tap and Vorpal Weapon, and these two perks are extremely strong. The only perk combination that I would believe is better is going to be on the Succession with a Reconstruction and Vorpal Weapon, but Triple Tap and Vorpal Weapon obviously is it's strong in its own sense too. But the biggest issue that you're going to run into when using this sniper is the fact that there are no actual magazines that you can swap on this sniper at all. You are stuck with accurized rounds no matter what, as it is a curated roll. Therefore, you're never actually able to increase your magazine size for more than 5 bullets per mag, unless you use the backup mag mod slot. And even then, I've not used this sniper enough to be 100% sure that that actually works. If it does or doesn't, then you you know, go ahead and just let me know in the comments down below, and I appreciate you letting me know. We're now going to kind of move away from more of the really serious, hard-hitting snipers and move to the snipers that are either a little more, less accessible, or just wouldn't really perform greatly in the Grandmaster Nightfalls to begin with. If they do perform well in those, I will specify otherwise when that sniper comes along. And the first sniper that we're going to be getting into is going to be the Oculos Sniper Rifle V1.0.2. This sniper sits in, honestly, it's a really, really weak archetype right now, and it's the 140 RPM category. But just because it sits here doesn't mean it's just not capable of outputting any decent DPS on enemies whatsoever. With that being said, there are some actual solid roles for this weapon, but they're just not going to be able to fit into that late game or end game PvE content that a lot of people are going to really be pushing themselves for. You are still going to see some really cool combinations and really cool damaging perks on this weapon. You have the ability to get 4th times the charm and triple tap, and then you're also able to get high impact reserves in your 4th slot. High impact reserves is fairly similar to reconstruction in the fact that it is more effective with how large your magazine size is. So the larger you're able to get your magazine, you're going to find that the more DPS you're going to be able to output. The biggest con with this sniper though is the fact that you do have to consistently hit precision shots to even do a somewhat, a fairly good DPS amount. And as we all know, sometimes there are just enemies and stuff in the game that move around much, or not everybody's just the greatest shot, for whatever reason it may be. So it's just not a consistent sniper for the fact that you have to consistently and reliably hit headshots for a fairly stretched out period of time, because the magazine size on this sniper do get fairly big. You're going to find that other perks on this weapon that a lot of people like Light GG are going to tell you is a good perk, like box breathing. I just wouldn't recommend these perks, especially considering it just significantly reduces your overall DPS by making you wait a certain period of time in between each and every single shot before the perk can reactivate again. Now this sniper is good for Grandmasters, it's just extremely hard to get, and it's not as good as others. We're going to be talking about the really highly sought after Frozen Orbit. This sniper is, like I mentioned, extremely hard to acquire. It can only be acquired through Crucible. It fits in the 92 RPM category, which, as we've talked about, is the strongest archetype for snipers. But the issue with it, and the biggest condition for this weapon that makes it really hard, is the fact that the perk pool for this weapon is massive. And obviously, having a bigger loot pool for your perks just means that you're going to have an even harder time getting the roll that you're really looking for. However, you do have a couple perks and stuff that you are able to look out for, ranging from Clown Cartridge to Triple Tap, and you can pair either of these and it will be really strong and reliable pairing it with a Vorpal weapon. But there aren't too many things about this sniper that I can really say makes it stand out, or is that it's just overwhelmingly amazing, because it's just not better than the Succession in any way, shape, or form. But it is a good sniper that if you are lucky enough to get your hands on it and you don't like raiding, it could be one that you want to go for, because it does have a really strong perk pool nonetheless. Now, the sniper we're going to be moving on to is one that's not really talked about or really used. I don't really see it very much, and I don't see or hear people talking about it in the least. And that's going to be the Distant Timulus. Snipers, for the most part in the game currently, are used for DPS and for bosses. However, that doesn't mean snipers can't be and aren't made just for that specific purpose. This sniper actually gets to highlight the fact that snipers are able to dispose of ground units and large groups of adds actually really quick, efficiently, and effectively. You're able to see a couple good solid perks on this weapon in the 3rd slot from like Clown Cartridge and Dragonfly, and you also have the ability to pair those with either Outlaw or Firing Line in the 4th slot. Personally, pairing Clown Cartridge and Outlaw is really fun and just kind of a cool and interactive perk combination that you get to see, getting to consistently see your magazine size increase in different ways, letting you take out more of the lighter yellow bars and red bar enemies out, and being able to put those numbers out faster and reload even quicker with bigger magazine sizes. So it's not something you would want to take into Grandmaster, but it's something that you can equip and go into your battlegrounds or into just some regular Vanguard strikes and go in there and actually just have a relatively fun and good time. Now moving over into the actual exotic category of snipers, since those are the only legendaries we're going to be talking about today, we're going to start out with, honestly, what is not going to be even remotely surprising. It's going to be something that is recommended for all activities if you can use your ammo efficiently, is going to be the Izanagi's Burden. This weapon is amazing, and anybody who has it and has the catalyst for this knows this. It features the exotic perk Honed Edge, which allows the player to consume the magazine, load the 4 rounds that are into the mag, or however many you have in the mag, into 1 round, which will give you additional range and damage to that shot. But there isn't anything to complain about this weapon, unlike what I mentioned before, other than the fact that it's not too ideal, opposed to the Succession or the Long Shadow, or anything that really has triple tap or reconstruction or auto-loading holster or anything like that, because this weapon just does not have really good ammo efficiency. You're gonna find that you're struggling for a lot of your secondary ammo, for a lot more of that strike than you will be actually using this weapon. You have to take in mind that you are taking 4 shots, turning it into 1, shooting 1 shot, and rinsing and repeating. So you're going to find that out of an entire ammo pool of around 20 plus rounds, you're going to chew through that relatively fast using this sniper. But regardless of that, it is still usable because it is an extremely, extremely strong sniper nonetheless. And last but not least, let's go ahead and get over into the Cloud Strike. This exotic sniper may sit in the 140 RPM category, which we talked about before being the weakest category in impact for snipers, but that doesn't actually mean this weapon is weak in itself. This is actually one of the weapons that was used for a really long time after the Deep Stone Crypt came out as one of the major boss DPS weapons. This weapon is extremely strong because of the exotic perks that are featured on the weapon, the first being Mortal Polarity. Precision final blows with this weapon generates a lightning bolt at the targeted location. And now for boss DPS, you're going to be thanking the perk Stormbringer. This perk creates a lightning storm after landing rapid precision hits at the point of impact. So no, this weapon isn't necessarily the best in-game when it comes to DPS-wise, and it's going to be another one of those snipers that in late-game activities like Grandmasters, you're going to find yourself struggling, having consistency and struggling for ammo as well, as you're constantly spraying bullets out all the time at targets, but it is still an extremely strong weapon nonetheless. People also need to be optimistic about this weapon purely because in the future we will be seeing a catalyst drop for this weapon, and that could bring, in my opinion, a much needed meta shift in the Destiny 2 PvE currently. We could see it utilizing the mechanics that it already has in its exotic perks for triple tap and seeing that come to the weapon. But with that being said, and with the company being Bungie, there is also just as likely of them doing something like just increasing the flat-out magazine size or giving it mulligan or something, just to really kind of laze around with it and get out and buy. But even without that, the weapon is still relatively strong, and I would recommend some people use it, either if you don't have any other snipers, or if you just want to use it just for fun and experimenting. If you've made it this far in the video, I greatly appreciate you taking your time to go ahead and make it this far. If you've noticed, there were a couple snipers that weren't listed in this video. Main reason for that, I had roughly about 2 weeks worth of footage of all the snipers that are currently not sunset in the game, and didn't get to use it all because the majority of that footage ended up crashing. But nonetheless, I appreciate you all actually making it to this end of the video. If you enjoy this type of Destiny content, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to see more videos that are similar like this coming out and to know when they come out. And I appreciate you guys swinging by and watching this video, and I hope all of you fellow Guardians have a wonderful day.